enlisted at the time. He was on C-47s out of Wheeler Air Force Base. Shortly after I was born, he got PCS orders up to Andrews Air Force Base. Packed up the household goods, moved the family to Alexandria, Virginia, and that's where I grew up. As a kid, my dad used to drag me out to the hangar. He was a flight engineer on Air Force One. So we go to Hangar 7 at Andrews. That hooked me right then. I knew I wanted to be in the Air Force. So when I graduated from high school, I applied to the Air Force Academy, was accepted, and I graduated in 1981. I went up to Columbus Air Force Base and I flew T-38s as instructor pilot. Then after that, I got even more lucky. I came down here and flew F-15s in the 33rd Attack Fighter Wing. 1990, I transitioned into the Air Force Reserves, and last June, I retired after 28 years as Lieutenant Colonel. My last duty assignment was as Regional Director for Recruiting for the United States Air Force Academy here in North Florida. For the last 20 years, I've been a pilot for Delta Airlines, and I'm currently a captain on the MD-88 up in Atlanta. My lovely wife, Shelley's in the back working the camera. And I also have my mother-in-law here tonight, Carolyn. So, I have 3 children. My daughter, Brooke, she's a senior at Florida State. She'll graduate this year. She's on the 4.25 plan. So I'm happy about that. I get a pay raise. And then we have 2 sons, William and Sam. They're 9 and 10. Go to the local elementary school, and right now they're doing Little League this evening. On the issues, I'm a Reagan Republican. Everybody's saying that now, but when I say I'm a foot soldier in the Reagan Revolution, I mean it with all my heart. As a senior cadet at the Air Force Academy, I marched in President Reagan's first inaugural. There we are, making our way down Pennsylvania Avenue, right shoulder arms, because Reagan stands over here. So they execute the eyes left, and there's Reagan right before my eyes. You guys remember Reagan? Remember those rosy cheeks? He was immaculate that day. His white silk scrub, he had a long black overcoat on. As we made our way by, excellent, popped us a highball. And for me, it was doubly special because my father, after he retired from the Air Force, he was Secret Service, standing on the left side of the reviewing stand. He was standing his post. And that's what we need to do, and that's what you folks are doing right now. You're standing your post. You're making your presence known, and you're standing up for freedom. So right now, my #1 issue, it's the economy. It's jobs. And I'm really frustrated as I think, okay, why is the president, why is this administration doing what they're doing? For you and I, it would be easy. We'd follow the example that Reagan set, and we all wish he was here, but he's not. But his legacy, and the lesson he left all of us, that lives on in each and every one of us. We know what to do. This administration, Pelosi, Reid, Frank, Dodd, our own president, why do they have their foot on the economy of this nation? Our economy, the source of security and wealth for 300 million Americans. Why don't they do the easy thing? What works? I had to mismatch myself on this one and try to figure it out. Why are they doing what they're doing? Why did he have to push through a $787 billion, and it's not a stimulus plan, it's a sedative plan. They put us to sleep. They rushed it through in 2 days. It had to be done, it was urgent. First year, they spent 1/3. This year, they're going to spend 1/3. They're going to spend another 1/3 in the coming year. They talked about shovel-ready projects. They talk about putting America back to work. Who did they put back to work, or whose job did they save? Unions, both in the public sector and in the private sector. And then they gave it to the states that's generally supported the president. It was payback, a $787 billion slush fund. But what I want to do when I get in there in January, I'm going to make it known. Americans want tax cuts. Tax cuts work every time we've tried it. We saw it under Reagan. We saw it under Bush. And we also saw it under President Kennedy. Tax cuts work every time they're tried. The current policies that we're seeing out of this administration, and I've heard the rhetoric, he's a socialist, he's a communist, he's a Marxist. I don't know what he is. They're certainly not economists. That would be the easy thing. When we do tax cuts across the board for the employer and employee, we cut the taxes on capital gains. We modify the alternative minimum tax or get rid of it altogether. And let's get rid of the death tax. We do that, that's more money in your pocket. That's more money in the pocket of 300 million Americans. If you have more money in your pocket, after a while, you've paid down your debts, you feel a little bit more confident about what you're doing, right? So now you've got some money in your pocket. Anybody in here own a small business? You guys are all retired. What do you do? Okay. We get some money in our pocket. We've been thinking now we're going to move out of our apartment. We're going to move into a home. I'm going to go to him and I'm going to start looking for a house. Interest rates are good right now. I can buy that house. He gets a cut with the commission. Now he's got more money in his pocket. He can go out and do his advertising. The point is, 300 million Americans with money in their pocket, that gets the economy going. That creates jobs. Government does not create jobs. They create government jobs. They create bureaucracy. They create people that want to limit our liberty and our freedom.
Right.
What else could they be doing? We know that we need domestic energy production. 50% of our debt in terms of import-export comes from energy. Right now, we are literally standing on tens of trillions of dollars of oil, natural gas, and coal. Why can't we develop our own resources? The president gave a good lip service. Now I'm waiting for the actual action. Because with him, he's a talker, not a doer. We've all worked with people like that in our lives. 5% increase in domestic energy production, that's 90,000 jobs. We could drill along our coast. We have ANWR, we have the Choctaw Sea, we have the Bakken Shale Formation up in North and South Dakota, we have the Marcellus Shale up in Pennsylvania. Tens of trillions of dollars in this economy and hundreds of thousands of jobs that we could have right here in America. But why aren't they doing it? Why don't they cut our taxes? This administration is about entitlements, creating dependence. Because when the government does that, what happens? As they get more and more responsibility for people's lives, what do we get from that? What does the government get from that?
Votes.
They get power, they get votes, they get more authority. And that's what this administration is all about. President Obama, right now on his desk, has 3 free trade pacts. One with South Korea, Colombia, and Panama. Colombia and Panama, not big trade partners. But South Korea, if we increase our international trade, that's millions of jobs in production and in shipping. It's going to bring millions of dollars into our economy. But that's not what this president's about. And lastly, what could we really do to get the economy going? We could overhaul our tax code. I support the fair tax. I support the flat tax. Other than what we currently have. You know, right now, how many hours have we spent doing our taxes for this year? It is so inefficient. But more importantly, the Internal Revenue Service and our tax code, 70,000 pages long, it is nothing more than a slush fund that our congressional elected officials use to reimburse their favored programs, their favored interests. We need the fair tax, if for nothing more than to reduce the power in Washington. That's where we need to be. We need tax cuts. We need free trade. We need domestic energy production. And we need to get rid of everything that we're currently doing in Washington. We need to eliminate the bureaucracy. 800 federal agencies is 800 too many. We need reductions in government. And they're going to scream bloody murder about tax cuts. Oh, about the debt. It's not our debt. Who authorizes, who owns the purse strings in our government? The House. The House controls the purse strings, right? It's not us. We didn't create that debt, but my gosh, we sure know how to take care of it. The government's got to live within their means. Now, a lot of you have probably asked, and I'm getting it asked every day, especially from my wife, why am I running? That's a good question. Well, in June 1977, that's my first day in uniform, we were asked to stand, raise our right hand, and take an oath. I took an oath that day. I swore to support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. What's the statute of limitations on that oath? How many military in here? When does that oath expire? Never. I just retired last June, but my commitment to this nation, it knows no bounds. So when I go to Washington in January, I'm going to remind those people, folks in North Florida, we appreciate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The truths of 1776, they're still true today. And our Constitution, that's our roadmap with government. That is our contract with government. Clearly defines their rights and our liberties and our freedom. And they do not need to tread upon those. But I'm also going to remind them, we will not tolerate a rising national debt that my children, your grandchildren, they cannot pay, and entitlements they cannot fund. But more importantly, we all have to remember, many of you have been in the military, you've been overseas. America, we're the beacon of hope. If we stumble and fall, who will be there when the Kuwaits of the world are attacked? Who will stand up for freedom and liberty? England and France, they will not lead the charge. And we certainly cannot depend on Russia China, North Korea,